walk along in these lonely streets. Walk along so I can feel my breath without distraction, without no relief set. Walk here alone so I can free myself. Walk here alone so I can, 'cause you were the needle inside my pillow, and you were the beetle inside my mouth. You were the laughing and you were the choking. You were the fun I should have done without. You were the fun I should have done without. You were the fun I should have done without.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rachael Sage.
When I first started, it was really a lot of people in the folk scene, like the Indigo Girls, Suzanne Vega, people who you'd see kind of touring mid-size or even larger venues regularly, whether or not they had an album out. John Prine, Bob Dylan, and I wanted to be one of those people because I thought that it would push me to become a better artist and to learn sort of just by doing it. And some other influences that I kind of hope I wear on my sleeve in a way, because they've just meant so much to me in terms of teaching me the craft of songwriting and of arrangement, are obviously the Beatles. It's where I get my love of kind of importing classical instrumentation into pop music. When I first heard their music, I just became obsessed and got every album.
It's cello madness for me up here. I'm gonna give me some groove music. I need my space. Okay, let's try that again.
Every time I see your face, I feel like I'm in pain. Every time I look away, I feel more the same. Every time I hold your hand, feels like I'm drowning. Every time I let it go, I feel vertigo.
I met my first love in Russia on a class trip, and it was a very, very intense, crazy affair as a 15-year-old with someone who barely spoke my language. And I think in a lot of ways that absolutely shaped who I am as an artist, as a songwriter.
Every time you tell me secrets and I listen hard, I feel like I'm the parchment and you are the bard. Every time.
So I had to subject myself to ever more and increasing unusual experiences to get back to that place of inspiration at 15.
Run far, for you held me tight, and I feel what I feel. Feel this is wrong, and I should run fast, for you led me on.
As a songwriter, I have always really wanted to try to learn how to write every type of song. I have that kind of Tin Pan Alley mentality because I grew up loving writers like Carole King and Burt Bacharach.
Sandstoning the edges of this picture of you, so sharp and spread out in several rooms, I imagine. You are shaming me in this car. Traveling circus, I am so excited. Wide-eyed, chasing chalk dust cloud blind.
When I decided to start a record label, it really was primarily to just release my own work and to avoid some of the pitfalls of major labels that I'd witnessed firsthand from some of my friends who I saw going, just a really interesting journey in terms of getting signed, getting these big major label deals, and then coming to me and telling me quite frankly that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So I felt like with that insight, I could either put my blinders on and still sort of hope and pray that my situation would be different if I went to a major label, or I could just kind of take the reins.
Gonna give me power, gonna become just like a wildflower.
In San Francisco a few years ago, I was on tour behind my last album, The Blistering Sun, and I just found myself walking around with some friends in the district that has like tons of chandelier shops. So all around me, I was kind of just, enchanted by all this sparkle and light, and when they're all kind of linked on top of each other, they just seem a bit more campy and like they're struggling to breathe. So because inanimate objects kind of speak to me in that way, and maybe that's just something that's a loose screw as a songwriter, but that's what I get.
And I could not say no, could it be true that I've been so wired that I could not give in long enough to let it go.
So ever since then, I've been wanting to capture that sense of just, how certain things have a uniqueness to them that's struggling to be heard, almost like a voice. And that until they're put into the right setting, that they are struggling. And that had sort of an endless, amount of musical potential.
And I could not say no, could it be true that I've been so wired that I could not give in long enough to let it go.
This record is about trying to find hope in even the darkest moments in life.
I just don't want to be a chandelier, shamelessly swinging through a maze of fear. I just don't want to be the light, the love sailing through the darkness. I just don't want to be a chandelier, shamelessly swinging through a maze of fear. I just don't want to be the light, the love, sailing through the darkness, sailing through the darkness.
Art has a way of imitating life and vice versa. So hopefully the place that I end up in that song, which is kind of a transcendent place, is where I'm going to be able to live for the next year or so, touring behind this record.